Welcome into the Sideline Sports Show. Ben and Tim here with you on this lovely Thursday night. Tim, how are you doing, my friend? I'm sorry I'm a little darker than normal today, but you know,
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah,
technical
yeah.
issues. But I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
present. So
Camera's making you look a little tan,
yeah, I know.
darker. But yeah, I'm glad to be here on this Thursday, man. I'm excited. There's a lot of things going on tonight with the drafts, the NBA playoffs going on. As you saw on our pre-post for our show, a big name for MLB is back, Mr. Acuna Jr. making his return tonight. Not only for us Braves fans, but for Major League Baseball, this is a massive W. For the first time in 9 months, one of the best players, if not the best player in the league, suits up. So it's going to be exciting tonight. He's going to be playing right field, even though they said originally when he comes back, he's going to be DHing. But I guess with the injury to Eddie Rosario, who's out 9 to 12 weeks with a hole in his retina, I was like, wow, that does not
Yeah.
sound good at all. So he's going to be out 9 to 12 weeks, and they were just like, "Well, FaceTime. We'll FaceTime you at 1 a.m." Like, I don't know how that happened. I don't know why Ronald was still up, but hey, FaceTime at 1 a.m. He jumped up and down like a kid on Christmas Day, apparently,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's starting in right field tonight against the Cubs.
I mean, that's pretty much what the Braves need, honestly, because if you've watched some baseball lately of Braves, haven't looked too hot as of lately, and they sent Alex Dickerson down
No, they
to an
DFA'd
assignment.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
DFA'd
they
him pretty
did. They
much.
DFA'd him.
So, and I think that was probably the right move. I honestly was not very shocked when the Braves signed him. I was kind of curious why. And I guess it was just to add depth to the roster. But Travis, I'm trying to remember how to say his last name correctly without
Demerit
saying
or something.
Demerit. That's it.
Yeah.
Has performed really well for the Braves since he's been called up. Do you think he retains his outfield position since he's been called up, and Alex Dickerson has been DFA'd?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's in left field tonight, so he's in the lineup. They moved him from right to left, obviously putting Ronald Acuna in right field. I think he's earned it. I think he's played well. He's had a really nice play a couple of nights ago for Max Fried. I mean, he's sliding into foul territory, made a nice grab. Homered last night. He's showing he can be productive at the plate. He can be productive for this team, especially with Rosario out. He's going to be definitely a welcome addition, and just allowing time to kind of for Eddie Rosario to get healthy. Hopefully he can stay hot. Hopefully he can continue his good work glove. But I think right now he definitely deserves an opportunity with Eddie Rosario out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Ronald Acuna, I think, would add that really huge piece that the Braves need, kind of the offensive spark I feel like they've been missing to get it kind of going. And now he'll be taking over the leadoff spot. How do you feel about Ozzy Albies moving down? I think he's in that fifth spot now in the
I think
lineup.
Well, so his role, I like it when he's in the two slot, but Matt Olson seems to be comfortable in that two slot, kind of feeling that
Yeah.
role that Freddie gave. I mean, how about that for a 1-2 punch right off the gate? You're all right. Who's first two batters I'm going to face? Oh, Ronald Acuna Jr. and then Matt Olson, and then Marcell Ozuna right behind him. So it's just like, wow, that top three in the order, not too shabby for sure. And then you got Adam Duvall as well as Ozzy Albies. So I mean, this lineup, while they're 8-11 currently, or 8-10, I forget which one, but they haven't won a series all year. Hopefully, they can turn that around tonight. They're too good to be struggling this bad, and with the welcome back of Ronald Acuna Jr., I think this team's going to take off from here. I think he's going to give them a spark. He's going to give them that edge. He's going to give them everybody a jolt of energy. And I think you're going to see the Braves go on a little bit of run, and they need it because the Mets are gotten off to a real hot start.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's shift our focus a little bit. The NBA playoffs is now kind of settling down in their second round of action. I think the biggest storyline coming out of what we kind of talked about last week is the Nets basically getting swept, by the Celtics. Because really, I don't think that was really kind of the Nets plan. And Ben Simmons obviously did not play, didn't even show up for game 4. So kind of give me your thoughts on the Nets, and then we'll talk a little bit about Ben Simmons by himself
Yeah.
after that.
I mean, I know Boston's a really good team. I mean, Jason Tatum and those boys. I mean, they're solid. Obviously, they finished one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. But the Brooklyn Nets, man, you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. I mean, Seth Curry. You got all those guys, man. And you get swept. You mean to tell me that's not going to affect KD's legacy? And you know he knows it. I mean, Kyrie Irving knows it that he's that's going to affect his legacy too. Not as much because I mean, well, it actually really affect both of them because like KD's like, hey, you can't win a championship without the Warriors. If you're Kyrie, you still can't win a championship without LeBron. And it's just like, and you go in the first round, you got guys, you're supposed to be two of the baddest what's in the entire league. You guys get swept in the first round, don't even win a game. I mean, that's sad and pathetic. Now, I mean, they had enough cast and characters, in my opinion, to at least be competitive in this series. They just weren't. I thought this series would seriously shift when it went back home to Brooklyn. Well, was I wrong? It didn't quite happen that way, and they're out. And now on Ben Simmons, I saw this today, Ben. Tiger Woods, get this, broke both his legs, did all this stuff to him, and he had a DUI, had all this stuff happen to him since the last time Ben Simmons played basketball. Okay, think about that. I mean, Tiger Woods broke both his legs. Wasn't sure if he's ever going to walk again. Got in all this legal trouble, and all the time he's back on the course faster than Ben Simmons. He's back on the course faster than Ben Simmons can get back on the court. I mean, I understand mental issues. Ben, I don't know about you, but I've experienced them as well. They're not easy to overcome, but eventually you got to kind of pull through, and your mental toughness is going to have to kind of prevail at some point. So, and just to say that, just completely sit out, especially when your season's on the line for your new team, is even to carry some momentum going into next year. If that's the case and that's what ends up happening, carry some momentum. Show that, hey, I'm no matter what, I'm ready to go out there and try to do what I can to help this team win. But he didn't even do that. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge point, Tim, and that you mentioned Tiger Woods and all the things that he went through, and Ben Simmons not being able to even step foot on the court for not even a game. I mean, not even a single minute. And I think that was one of the things I think Brooklyn at least wanted him to do, was at least just get a couple of minutes. But let's save that Simmons talk for just a moment. But let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets just by itself. I love the way you mentioned it affects the legacy of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving because of the fact of you mentioned these guys went off on their own and said, hey, we want to go and create our own legacy with whatever team would fit us best, right? That was the goal. Like that was the end goal for a lot of these guys. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when you get swept in the first round by a very, very young team. And don't get me wrong, like there are some veterans on that team. I would consider Marcus Smart, maybe a veteran presence guy. Like I may could consider Marcus Smart, but a lot of their core guys are young guys. I mean, they're not very old. Jaylen Brown, I think he's still in his 20s, maybe 25. I think he may be up there. Jason Tatum, I don't even think he's 24. So a lot of young guys on this team go in and make the series not even look competitive at all. And I just, it blows my mind that the Celtics basically swept, because I really thought this was at least going to be like maybe a 4-2, maybe a 4-3. It could have gone all the way, but it was a clean sweep, and I really just am upset by the whole entire Brooklyn Nets organization that they weren't even competitive in this series. But go back to Ben Simmons, the fact of just he did it at LSU, and a lot of people didn't realize that, where he kind of like mentally shut down. And you're right. Like I think a lot of people go through that, but at the same time, like he didn't even step foot on the court once this year, and you're still making $33 million. Just blows my mind. And
Yeah.
I think in those times where sure you've had to have had a good day in those mental trials that you've had throughout the season. And in those good days, at least go out there and try to perform at least 10 minutes. I mean, this Brooklyn Nets lineup could have looked a little bit better with you playing at least 10 minutes. I mean, and that's at least something to build off of. And he had nothing to build off of. And I don't know if this mental block will continue all the way through the offseason and even into next season, because he never got that momentum to build from what he was going to do. So now he's just still stuck in this mental block era. And I don't know if that's going to be able to overcome. And hopefully it is for him, and he'll be able to have a good career off of it. But I mean, just not being able to build off anything is really tough to come back off of next year.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like this entire season was just root for them. I mean, Harden went out of town, and Katie brought up a good point when that happened a few months ago. That yeah, he's not getting any younger. I mean, Kyrie at the time was dealing with that vaccine mandate stuff going on in Brooklyn, so he wasn't playing with the team. KD was hurt, and there's just whole thing was just a mess. And then trading for Ben Simmons, who doesn't even step on the court for you, it was just like, man, they couldn't catch a break this year, and they never could, really and truly. So even had to play in the playing game. I mean, with those type of players that they have, that should never be an option. But they weren't able to overcome injuries in the regular season, and they definitely weren't able to overcome the Boston Celtics in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other teams that were eliminated, the Hawks, unfortunately by the Heat. I really wanted them to kind of keep going, but just a lot of injuries throughout that first part of the season for the Hawks really just kind of set the tone for the rest of the year. They really couldn't play defense, especially in the fourth quarter when it needed it most. Weren't able to get it done. Nuggets were eliminated. Bulls were eliminated as well. But these are the games that are left tonight. Sixers, Raptors. Raptors were down 3-0, if I'm correct. They've
Mm-hmm.
come back and made this a series 3-2, and they're at home tonight. So I think that would be a really good one. Suns, Pelicans, a lot of people really didn't think Phoenix would take this to even 6 games. Pelicans have a shot at home tonight to tie this series up, and then Jazz, Mavericks. Jazz trying to even this thing up as well. So, looking at those three, let's go ahead and start with probably the biggest shocker, Raptors Sixers. Do you think the Raptors are able to tie the series up and pull out a win?
I think they are. They went on the road in Philadelphia and absolutely smashed the 76ers the other night. So they're more than capable of doing it at home. I think Philadelphia does kind of show up a little bit. I think James Harden, because he got called out a little bit, it's like, hey, we need you to be more aggressive. I think he's going to take that to heart, and I think he's going to challenge it. So I think Toronto, obviously, is going to be a close game because they're at home. But I ultimately think Philadelphia actually wins Game 6.
Okay. So that means it would end the series. Philadelphia wins the series. Let's go to the next one. Not Sixers, excuse me. Suns and Pelicans. Pelicans at home tonight. Do you think they get the win and even the series up?
I do. I like their chances actually tonight at home. Again, no Devin Booker. He's out for a little while. Hopefully he'll return. You know, if they were able to make it to the next round at some point in that series. But I think the Suns could win. Obviously, I wouldn't be surprised with Chris Paul leading the way. But I think Pelicans, they're a scrappy bunch, man. They really are. I mean, they acquired CJ McCollum. This has been a different team, even without Zion Williamson. I've been very impressed, and they're playing really well. I mean, I don't think they're, even if it goes Game 7, I don't think they're going to come away with it. But I think the Pelicans, in my opinion, come away with Game 6, and I think force this back to Phoenix.
Yeah, I like that pick too. That's actually my pick too. I think the Pelicans win this game tonight, and I think it will be a very, very interesting Game 7 when it goes back to Phoenix. And I think it's going to be close, but unfortunately, I think the Phoenix are too much. I do love, and it's maybe just because I'm a Georgia Tech fan, Jose Alvarado. I mean, for the Pelicans, even being nicknamed Grand Theft Alvarado has been fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
And the steals that he makes too just blows my mind. But he's been doing it since college, so I've been able to watch that a little bit more than a lot of people. All right.
I love Chris Paul in this series. He got the ball and looked right at Alvarado. He said, "Keep going."
Yeah, but then the next game he was able to get a steal like that. So kudos to Jose Alvarado. All right, Mavericks Jazz. Dallas leads the series, but they head to Utah tonight. Do you think they pull it out with Luka playing? So you got to remember that as well.
Yeah, I think Dallas closes it out tonight. I do. I think they take it to the Jazz and send Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell home. So
Yeah,
I think it's fairly simple in this one.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, when Luka came and played the other night, he just balled out. And I think when you have Luka on the floor for the Mavericks, it's a really hard team to stop. So give me Luka and the Mavs to finish that series out. All right, that's it for the NBA. When we come back, we'll actually be breaking down something that we didn't even mention in our graphic, the NFL draft. Don't go anywhere. We'll give you our best predictions as best as we can. And maybe Tim's hidden mock draft that no one's ever seen before. We may talk about all that and more right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back in Sideline Sports Show. Tim, this is very, very interesting. I don't even think in the years of us doing a show together, we've ever talked about the NFL draft and our thoughts on the NFL draft. Yeah, I like looking back, we'd have to go all the way back to our college days, Tim. The Rambling Sports Show, I don't think we ever talked about the NFL draft. When we did the Ben Tim Sports podcast, we never did it. So it would be a great way in our first year of doing the Sideline Sports Show to go ahead and just do our own ideas on the NFL draft. So, Tim, obviously, Jacksonville has been on the clock for months and almost about 3-4 months now, and able to have the first selection in the NFL draft. Who is that guy do you think they're going to take number 1 overall?
Obviously, people have been talking about Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Questions on him, gets to the quarterback 18% of opponents' dropbacks while he's at Michigan. Didn't have a great game against Georgia, which is kind of like, is that evidence of how he's going to play in the NFL, going up against bigger dudes? Because Georgia's O-line is about the size of a NFL O-line, so the question's there. There was one guy, and I've heard reports about Jacksonville taking him. I forget his name. I think you mentioned him to me off air.
Trayvon Walker.
Yeah,
Georgia.
Yeah, they mentioned about him being in there. If it's a guy I'm thinking of, I mean, he only gets to quarterbacks on 8% of the dropbacks. So it's just like, Jacksonville, are you really, really thinking about this guy? I don't know. To me, it's just like, that's really not going to help Trevor much. But it's like, you don't want to take a wide receiver there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe trade back, but they're not going to do that. I feel like they'd already done it at this point. Really, only O lineman is that O lineman from NC State that's really worth in the top 10. So, and even that, people are not sure that he's worth it. I mean, they've already invested in Cam Robinson. I think he's 4th year at Alabama, something like that. And so, it's like, what else are you going to take? So, I don't know. I'd go with, at this point, Aiden Hutchinson would be my guy. But that's just me. I think he's kind of like a little under Bosa's, like one of the Bosa's, like the ones at Ohio State. I think he's very capable of being them. I don't know if he's going to be anywhere near as good as they are. I don't know if he's going to ever get, double-digit sacks in a year for you. He might, but I don't know. Either way, I don't like this draft. I think this draft is –
yeah.
I mean, you've got some wide receiver talent. I mean, I like Chris Olave out of Ohio State. Wide receiver, slipping my name on the top of my head, over at Alabama. He's solid.
Jameson Williams,
thank you. Yeah. He's solid. Quarterbacks, man, are just – whew. I mean, when you got Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis are the 2 quarterbacks, I mean, out of Liberty and then Pittsburgh – I mean, last year, what did we have? We had a bunch of QBs taken in the first round, didn't we? Like 5 or something like that?
Yeah. I want to say it was 5, Tim. I think you're right on the dot.
First 2 picks were QBs. This year, I mean, we'll be lucky if we get 2, For me, it's the big question is the Panthers at 6. Like, do they take a quarterback? If they don't take a quarterback, we may not see a quarterback till like 19.
Do you want to hear my top 10 picks, Tim?
Sure.
All right. Number one, and well, you know what? Let's actually start with, and yeah, we'll start with one. Why not? All right, number one, I do have Trevon Walker, and here's why, Tim. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
one, Jacksonville. Obviously, I think they're looking defensive wise because they went offensive wise all first draft last year in the first round last year. They got the running back that they want in Travis Etienne. I think he'll come back healthy. I think he'll be fine. He'll help that offense in the run game. Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. I think he'll make improvements this year in
He's
that
got help
offense. So
now.
yeah, and I think they'll take an offensive line later, but right now I think they got to focus on defense within this first round, and I think they go with Trevon Walker. Why? Because he probably, out of all the defensive ends that they had within these pro days, within these combines, Trayvon Walker had the best numbers in every single category, to my knowledge. And I think this is probably the best. And I don't think this is the best defensive end, but I think this is the one that they're going to take because of all of those numbers. And it's just because it's Jacksonville. I mean, they only look at numbers and say, okay, this guy looks good, and they just draft him. Like, that's just who Jacksonville is. That's their organization that has been for years. So I think they're going to go with Trevon Walker at number one overall. But here's where it gets interesting, Tim. I do have my second pick as Aiden Hutchinson. Why? Because
Homegrown
Detroit has
kid.
this second pick. It's a homegrown kid. Like, I think this would be a really, really good steal if Hutchinson was still up there at 2 for Detroit. I think this would be a really good pick. He's staying home. He's being able to play in front of his family. I think that's a really good steal if you can get to that. Number 3, Houston Texans have the third pick, and I think they're going to go with Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon. That's and here's why I think that.
Wow, a lot of
And
defensive linemen here.
yeah, a lot of D ends, all right. But I mean, look, you go back. I think the last good defensive end that Houston had was J.J. Watt and the
Mm-hmm.
Clowney was the last two that they had. They need a guy that can be a disruptive end on defense. They don't have that right now, and I think with them, that is the fit that they need. He's a guy that's going to get after the quarterback every single play. I think, and honestly, in my opinion, I think this is the best defensive end within this draft. Just in my opinion, when you look at the stats, when you look at everything else, he is the guy I think a lot of people are going to miss out on. Just because of his size, I think a lot of people are judging him because he's a lot thinner than a lot of other guys have been this year. So I think you're going to see him just kind of fall. All right, I'm all of these are on my phone, so I'm having to pull this up. All right, number 5, the New York Jets have this. I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner, the
Ooh.
corner out of Cincinnati. I really say this because what defensively do the Jets have? Nothing. I mean, they literally have nothing on defense in my.
They've got one or like a good safety, but other than that, yeah, corners
Yeah.
they really haven't had that lockdown corner since Revis Island left. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I could see that.
this is the best guy to put on this defense for this New York Jets team. I definitely see it. I think this is a high possibility of this happening. All right, the New York Giants have the 5th pick in this draft, and I'm gonna go with Akeem. Yeah, I can't even say his last name, Tim. The offensive lineman from NC State. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Ike, maybe. I think it's how you say his first name, actually. I don't know. But anyway, he's
Hmm.
going to be my number 5 pick. I say that because New York Giants, and I don't know if they just have a history of doing this or if it's just a normal thing for them to do. Draft offensive linemen in the first round. Like, it's been a thing for them for years. I mean,
They need it with their quarterback. That's for
yeah,
sure.
and with their quarterback, I mean, Daniel Jones, it looks like they're going to stick with him. They're not really going to commit to anybody else. I don't understand why, but that's
Well,
just the route they're going.
they did decline his 5th year option, so this could be his last year.
Yeah. So, and they may be just kind of like stalling out and waiting for a new offensive lineman, or excuse me, a new quarterback to come in, because this is not, like you mentioned, Tim, this is not the draft if you want a quarterback. And unfortunately, a lot of teams within our division, Tim, are in search of a quarterback. So
Yeah.
this is going to be interesting, but I think they take him at 5. This is where I'm going to ruffle your feathers, Tim.
Oh boy.
Uh, Carolina Panthers have the 6th pick, and I think they're
Wow.
going to draft the best quarterback available, and that will be Kenny Pickett.
Mm.
Oh, what I just want to get your thoughts on that, Tim.
I'm torn because I don't know if I want him or Malik Willis. I don't know. I mean, for what I've seen, I mean, he didn't win at Auburn. He goes to Liberty. He looks good. He performs well, but the competition, there's questions about that. But the competition doesn't always matter. I mean, Carson Wentz. I mean, say what you want about it now. He's still starting
Yeah.
quarterback in the NFL. He was having an MVP year before he tore his ACL his rookie year. So, and then Tony Romo, he was FCS. Jimmy Garoppolo, who, I mean, he's not great, but still, he was an FCS quarterback. He's been to a Super Bowl. He went to the NFC Championship game last year. So competition's not always the biggest thing, but I don't know. From what I've seen with Malik Willis, I mean, he threw 4 picks against Ole Miss. I'm just like, they were improved defense, but they still weren't good. I don't know. I don't know about him. Kenny Pickett's a tough one for me. So, I mean, they small hands, but I mean, so does Joe Burrow. So, and Joe Burrow had that famous tweet where it's like, "Oh, just found out I have small hands. I think I'm going to go into retirement."
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I like him. I think he's good. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not sure about it. He could be
Carolina just needs
like
a
a Sam
quarterback.
Darnold. Yeah, they do. But I'm getting either Sam Darnold or Justin Herbert. I feel like he's going to be either one, and I don't know which one.
Yeah. This is I don't know. I feel like I was torn between Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett on that pick, but I went with Kenny Pickett because he played at Pitt. I mean, a lot more better competition than Malik Willis did at Liberty. That was really my ultimate decision where I was like, he's played better competition, played in bigger games at times, and has performed well in the not great. I said well, not good, just well in those games. So I think he can. I think he could be really good if he just gets the right person to teach him. And I think Matt Rule. This is a backstory to him. Matt Rule actually got him to commit to Temple when Matt Rule was at Temple. And then he decommitted, obviously, because Matt Rule left Temple that year and went to Baylor. And so I think it would be really huge if he was able to get him to commit to Carolina and say, hey, come on. And honestly, if they're going to draft a quarterback, that's probably the best place to take it because I don't think if they wait until the second round, they don't have a pick until late in that second round. And by then, I know Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis will be off that board. So if they want to go quarterback, they got to go here. And unfortunately, I think they're just going to go Kenny Pickett.
I'd like to see them go after a receiver or something. I mean, I'd like maybe like a Jameis. What was his name again? Golly, Williams. Williamson.
Williams.
Yeah. And then maybe second round go after Matt Corral. I mean, that would be something that I would probably personally prefer. But I mean, hey, if you're Matt Rule, you better get this right. I mean, you've gone defense for forever now. Look what happened. Your offense is atrocious because of it.
That's true.
So,
your defense is okay.
Oh, the defense is really good. The defense is solid. I mean, for a while, it was number 1 in the league for a long time. The problem is the offense couldn't move the football, so the defense was out there for a long, long time, or after they were against short fields constantly, just because all the turnovers, fumbles, especially picks. Oh, my goodness.
And I've also said this, Tim, and I don't think a lot of people will believe this until this may happen, but they may draft somebody else here and then trade up for a earlier pick with Christian McCaffrey. Do you think that happens?
I wouldn't do that with this draft. I would not do that with this draft.
Okay.
I would maybe if it was last year, maybe I'd be okay with that. We're getting 2 offensive pieces, but this year I don't think it's worth it. I think unless you get Jameson Williams, then you trade back in and then take Kenny Pickett. That would be something that I would do. Other than that, I don't think it would be really worth it.
Okay. Let's continue. New York Giants also have this 7th pick,
Which they may trade. They may trade.
which they may trade, and let's just say they don't. And that's what I'm basing this off of. I really do think they'll trade. I can't guarantee who they'll trade to. But let's just say it stays the same. That's what I'm trying to do here. I think they would take Derek Stingley Jr. from LSU. Um, I don't think he's the best corner. Obviously, Sauce Gardner would be the best corner in this draft, hands down. I don't think there's any argument on that. I just think he's probably the second best. And, you went offensive with your first pick. I think they're going to go defensive with their second pick. Obviously, you don't really have a defensive end that you really want to commit to because obviously all the good ones are already gone. So I think they're going to go obviously with Derek Stingley Jr. because I think he's the next best pick within this draft. This is where I think it gets interesting, Tim. I have the Falcons selecting Chris Olave from Ohio State.
Yeah, that'd be huge for them. They would need someone like that kind of replace the Calvin Ridley who's going to miss all next year because of we all know that scandal that he was part of. I think he'd be huge for him. I think Olave is just he's outstanding. He's an outstanding receiver. He proved it during his time with the Buckeyes. Just overall, I think he's a really good talent. I think he could stretch the field for Marcus Mariota and company. I almost said Matt Ryan because I'm so used to it being in Atlanta. I'm like, nope, he's in Indianapolis.
No, it's Marcus Mariota now.
Yep. So, I mean, don't you love the QBs? In the NFC South, Marcus Mariota, Sam Darnold, Jameis Winston, and then Tom Brady. I mean, goodness gracious, you talk about 3 ugly ducklings, and then the mama goose. Jeez.
Yeah. Now, if Calvin Ridley were still able to play this year, I would have actually had the Falcons selecting my next pick, which will go to Seattle, if I'm correct. Could be wrong on that. But it will be Jermaine Johnson, the linebacker from Florida State. I think once he transferred from Georgia over to Florida State, he made a huge upgrade to his draft stock. I mean, it's massive. Has done an incredible job over there at Florida State with Mike Norvell. Even though they had a horrible record, I mean, this dude stood out every single game. And I think he's going to stand out here in the draft. So I think they're going to go with Jermaine Johnson. And then finally, to round out my top 10, I actually have the San Francisco 49ers taking a wide receiver team in Jameson Williams as a wide receiver to replace Deebo Samuel because poor Deebo Samuel looks like he ain't going to play this year. So they're having to go out and now look for a first-round draft pick for a wide receiver. So I have him going 10. All right, Tim, any thoughts or changes that you think you would make?
Sounds about right. I like the Giants' offense and the defense. Getting that help there. Panthers, I like it. If they select Kenny Pickett, I'll get behind it. I definitely need some excitement. Definitely need someone to push Sam Darnold for sure. I don't know, the 3 defensive linemen, I feel like you could put in any order, but I definitely feel like it's either going to be 1-2 or 2-1, whichever one. And I think what's Aiden Hutchinson, that's who it was.
Yeah.
I think him going to Detroit, I think that'd be huge. I hear people talking about, homegrown kid going to Detroit would be awesome. And it would. I think that would be really good for him and in the Detroit Lions. I just think, they really need some offensive help there, especially with the quarterback position. So, but obviously this ain't the draft to do that. So,
yeah. I mean, who knows that? I mean, they could. I don't know. I don't think Malik Willis falls to the second round. I really don't. I think
Steelers or Saints.
Over or under quarterbacks going the first round. I got 2. Over or under.
I think over under is 2, and I would take the over.
Okay.
Because I think 3 are gonna go. I don't know who the third one is, but I think 3. I'm going to go out and predict and say 3.
I'm either going to say Matt Corral or Sam Howell will be that third one.
Could be. I think Sam Howell is a day 2 guy. I think.
Okay.
I could see Matt Corral going to the late rounds. I could see it.
Okay. All right. Well, that actually wraps up our whole entire NFL. Well, who do you think stands out that's not going to get mentioned a lot?
Underrated pick.
I got mine.
Mine is actually going to be a corner in Andrew Booth. I think, I say that with Clemson just because the dude's an athlete, freak athlete. Everybody remembers that where he was levitating against Pittsburgh in 2020.
Yes.
Everybody remembers that pick. The dude's a phenomenal. He's a beast. I think he's going to be a underrated prospect, and I think whoever gets him is going to get a fantastic shutdown corner.
Yeah, I honestly think I haven't heard this name enough, but you go back and watch what he did in college. Especially last year, this dude was a beast. And Jordan Davis, I'm going to be shocked to see where he lands. I think he'll go first round. If he falls any later than that, I would be shocked. I really would. Just because of the talent level he has, I think he'll perform at a high level. So that's my sleeper pick. I think he should go up there higher, but unfortunately, I don't think he will. And if he falls out of the first round, watch out day 2, because I think a lot of people would be on the hunt to get Jordan Davis. Especially dude's huge on the defensive line. So I think he'll be able to help any team that needs anybody on that defensive line.
Sure.
All right, Tim, one last thing. I'm not even going to worry about this camera anymore. It goes out, goes in. So
should I just do it to where I do it?
But I want to share with you, Tim.
Should I just do that?
All right. Yeah, that makes me feel better, Tim. Thanks. All right. Craziest thing I've seen this week, Tim. And I've actually sent it to you, and you didn't respond, so I don't know if you saw it. All right. Boston family awarded $5 million, Tim, for golf ball damage to home. All right. Now here's the thing. We begin to read this article, okay? And this is a legit article. If you want to go read it, check out WYFF4.com. A Boston family was awarded nearly $5 million after golf balls caused thousands of damages to their home. The family has lived near the fairway on hole 15 on the golf course, located on their home since 2015.
Which
golf
course?
Balls actually wreaked. Do what?
Which course is it?
I don't know. Like, it doesn't show the course. So there's 26 windows that have to be replaced within their home, says the family attorney. The entire siding of the home has to be replaced. There are portions of the deck that were damaged that need to be fixed. In their 4 years of living there, this is the craziest part, Tim. Nearly 700 golf balls have landed on their property. So they are being awarded $5 million, Tim. $5 million. That means I need to go live next to the golf course.
Yeah, seriously. Talk about a return on investment. My goodness.
Yeah. Look,
just go through a couple years of golf balls being rained down on your house, and I get $5 million or $5 million house. Shoot, yeah.
It's not the house, by the way. A lot of people are saying the house is not even worth $5 million, but because of the damages that have been done to their home, it will take more than $1 million to fix. But my thing is they're making $5 million off this. But, you look at the pictures of this house. Like I said, go check out the article, WYFF4.com. Literally, it's right next to, the bunker on hole 15 of this golf course or whatever. It's literally right there. So, it's so close. It's bound to happen. There's not that many trees that are blocking their house from that golf course. So, it's bound to happen. I feel like when you moved into that house, you're like, oh, there's a golf course right there. There's probably going to be a golf ball that hits my house at some point. Let's just be realistic.
Yeah. You feel like you would have that conversation with your real estate agent there before you moved in. But, I guess not.
Yeah, but that is the craziest thing we've seen this week. But, man, $5 million. I'm about to find a house that lives next to a golf course and just hope that becomes me. I'm gonna find one that literally lines up straight with the fairway.
Yeah.
That way, if they shoot one over, it lands on my deck, Tim. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. All right, Tim. Any final thoughts before we wrap up today's show?
Actually, on that golf course, you can actually get more money. You know what you could do? When you see a ball land nearby, go out there and lay beside it, pretend to hit you in the head, and you can sue for money.
Bingo.
And get more money.
Hey, look, hey, you're giving that family ideas. I mean, they already made $5 million. Now they're looking to make a little bit more now. So,
Yeah, just
who knows?
financial expert.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Before we head out, make sure go visit our friends at section103.com. You can get 10% off your first code using the code Sideline at checkout. And then, last but not least, go follow all of our social media platforms, Sideline Sports Show, unless you want to look on Twitter. And use under the Elon Musk 140 characters. It's Sideline SP Show as Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. So we don't know what that means for us, Tim. We may go private. Who knows? I don't know what will happen to us on Twitter, but we'll find out when
I think we'll be okay.
Mr. Musk. Yeah, I think when Mr. Musk sees what we're doing, I think he'll contribute to our fund.
Good old Elon.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's all for today's show. Make sure to go check out, if you're watching, go check out the podcast. It will come out tomorrow. Or if you're not listening or you're not watching now and you're listening to this podcast, probably tomorrow or even a couple days after the show's recorded, make sure to come hang out with us on Thursday nights. Join the conversation, and we would love to see your comments and thoughts or suggestions. I mean, really, because we can make them come up on the show, have conversations about it, debate whether your Earth is flat. Kyrie, if that was his comment, that would probably be his comment.
Oh,
The Earth is flat, and then we could argue that too. So, so make sure to come and join us on the show Thursday night, 6:15 Eastern Standard Time. If anybody's living in Central or Western Time out there in the desert. So, but thank you guys for do what.
The dunes.
The dunes of California,
Arizona. California.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining the show. Be back next Thursday night as we cover more sports and everything happening in the sports world. Have a great week, and we will see you all guys next week right here on the side.